I gotta put the leaderboard up here so I can see what's going on.
Hello, DeMatha Nation, and welcome to our 75th anniversary DeMatha Speaker Series. My name is Ben Flary, class of 2011, and current staff member here at DeMatha. I'm joined today by current staff member Connor Glowacki, who will be assisting me in conducting today's interview with radio legends and hosts of the Sports Junkies, Eric Bickel and Jason Bishop, both DeMatha class of 1988. Along with EB and Lurch, the show is also hosted by JP Flame and John Allville and airs Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 106 The Fan, and is also aired live on NBC Sports Washington. So the Sports Junkies originally aired in 1996 and focuses on a mix of discussions about sports, pop culture, and the day-to-day lives of the Junkies. The show has made the Talkers Magazine Heavy 100 a number of times over the years and was ranked 8th on the 2020 Sports Talk Heavy 100 list. Eric Bickel, class of 88, grew up in Bowie and attended DeMatha with fellow junkie Jason Bishop. After high school, Bickel attended University of Maryland, where he majored in psychology and got a master's in education. Eric became a sports junkie in '97 and is the brother of current orchestra director and assistant band director here at DeMatha, Matt Bickel. As for Jason, he grew up in Lanham while attending DeMatha and played for legendary basketball head coach Morgan Wooten, where he received a scholarship to play basketball at the University of Richmond. On May 6, 2016, the Junkies celebrated 20 years on the air. And in honor of their achievement, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser proclaimed the day Sports Junkies Day in Washington during their broadcast. So 5 years later, obviously the Junkies are currently in their 25th year together. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our special guests here, Jason Bishop and Eric. Gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you on. Before we get started, I guess I'll start with EB here. I wanted to check in how you're doing and how's, kind of life been treating you throughout the pandemic.
Awful. I mean, terrible. I mean, it's the worst thing ever. So yeah, I hate it. There's nothing I like about it. I'm not the person to talk about it. My opinions are very unpopular. I'm very unhappy. I mean, I'm blessed. My family's healthy. That's very important. That's the most important. But yeah, I mean, it's just been miserable, I think, for all of us. So I'm ready to be done with this immediately, like yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. You and me both, EB. You and me both.
With a bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of, I guess I'll ask this to Jason. So now that you've kind of, reached your 25th year as a show, did you have any idea kind of in the beginning that you'd be on the air 25 years later? Perhaps maybe you can talk about some ups and downs, during those years, but, it must be a huge, satisfaction, and it must feel great to have been on air for 25 years.
Oh, I mean, no, obviously we had no idea we'd be on this long, moving time slots and moving a couple different stations. And, we were following Don and Mike back in the day. And look, we thought we would go for a couple of weeks and probably just get fired. I was bouncing around with odd jobs. I was trying to get into sports PR, and I really didn't know what to do. And then we had the shot at going to WJFK, and they said, "Here, we'll give you a shot on the weekends." And we went in there. We did it for about 2 weeks, and then Jeremy Coleman was our program director at the time. Said, "All right, you guys are good. We're going to give you weekends here for Saturdays and Sundays." We were making about $25 an hour, I think, for 3-hour shows, Eric. You remember?
I think it was like $75 a show or something.
Yeah, $75 a show.
We had to fight and claw for it. I mean, we had to fight for it.
Yeah. But, long story short, no, of course not. 25 years later, I can't believe it. We've been so blessed. I think we made our success over time because our chemistry, and we just knew each other's personalities. And I just thought we had a unique ability with some of the guests in terms of the Q&A with them. We established really good relationships with a lot of the team personnel over the years, because we weren't your typical sports talk, talking heads. We were just 4 fans. We always described ourselves as 4 guys sitting at a sports bar, just shooting the shit. But no, after 25 years, and we're still doing it. It's incredible. Ups and downs, the one pressure for radio is obviously ratings. So, and fortunately, we've had really good ratings over the years. There's always dips, but there's always pressure when for whatever reason, the ratings go down, and you got to talk to your higher ups and what you're doing wrong and what you're supposed to change. But for the most part, we've done what we've done for 25 years, right, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, Jason's right. You're totally blessed. Totally, we're the 4 luckiest guys in the country. There's no question about it. But I would say that that I do have a little bit of pride in the sense that I feel like we did kind of create this luck. We did a cable access show on a lark. My future mother-in-law said, "Hey, you and your buddies should do a talk show, on Bowie Cable Access. Anybody can do a cable access show. You just have to, live in Bowie and pay taxes." And so, I was kind of struggling in school, not knowing what I wanted to do. And that sounded like something fun to entertain me, as I was finishing up school. And we did that for a year, and we stayed real dedicated. And, I don't know that people realize, I mean, we knew no one was watching. I mean, literally nobody was watching, but we did, try to record one a week. Jason was, like he said, he was doing odd jobs. I don't even know. I think at that point I'd had my master's, and then I can't even remember the timeline anymore. I think I was working at Howard Community College or something, trying to find my way.
I was working for the Eagles. I was up in training camp.
Right. And, we were very dedicated. They gave us no help. They kind of mocked us when we said we wanted to have a show, but they said, if you want a show, sure, all you got to do is learn how to use the equipment. So we said, all right, well, how hard can this be? So they gave us a little tour of the equipment or whatever. And then we got my sister, and we got my future mother-in-law and father-in-law, and we got like my future wife and a couple other people just volunteered every week for free. We had no money. We weren't making any money. Literally nobody was watching the show. But JP would come back from Philly from law school every week. I mean, for a nothing. I mean, this was just a lark. But we took it very seriously. We dressed up and wore ties. We did our Sports Center impression, and we tried to have fun with it. And I remember about it, halfway through, we said, you know what? All right, no one's watching this, but it is kind of funny. I mean, there is kind of, there's something to it. And so we decided, let's send out tapes to the local media reporters. Maybe somebody will write an article about it, and maybe they'll give us a show on Comcast or on the radio or something. And we sent out 3 tapes. Jason knows this. We sent out one to Rudy Martzke at the time, who was the entertainment reporter, remember, at USA Today. We sent one to Lenny Shapiro at the Washington Post.
He hated it.
Turns out later, I mean, Lenny hated us. Rudy never responded. But then we sent a third one to the Washington Times and to Dick Heller. And to this day, Dick Heller changed our life more than anybody, because he loved the show. He wrote a great article about it. I'll never forget being so excited walking, and that was for the Washington Times, walking down in my driveway to pick it up that Saturday morning and to see what, we wrote about. And sure enough, WJFK called us about an hour later, and they read the article. And they had just gotten the rights to the Redskins back then in '96, if you remember. And they had no programming on the weekend. And they were, see 4 guys, doing this for nothing. And, would you guys want to come down and do a demo or talk to us or something? And I mean, that was like a dream come true. That was the station I listened to. I was a huge Stern fan, huge Don and Mike fan, huge G. Gordon Liddy fan, frankly. And so we were just super lucky, super fortunate. We went down there and we showed up, radio. I mean, look how we're dressed. I'm wearing pajamas, essentially. But we went there like in suits. I mean, we didn't know. We thought it was like a big job interview. And they kind of liked their chemistry. They put us on the air. What, Jason?
You blew a tire or broke down on the Beltway. I remember going to.
Something happened. I think it was JP's car or something. I can't remember what it was. But we left the car. We abandoned the car on the belt. We took a cab or something to get in there. Showed up late. But they said, hey, you want to come and do a demo on Saturday night live? Sure. I mean, but we were nervous. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. And as Jason said, we did a couple of them. And I will say this. Again, there's no question that we're the 4 luckiest guys on this Zoom call in the country. But I do remember driving home from that meeting when they said they were going to give us the demo opportunity on the air. And I just remember having this moment at the light. And I still remember the intersection. And I just thought, oh my God, this is going to hit. People are going to like this. And not in a cocky way, just in a way that I knew people liked our interaction, right? Like you have your group of friends. Can you imagine if you and your group of friends got this opportunity? It was like a 1 in a million shot. So it wasn't necessarily that we were so great. And to this day, we're terrible at going to breaks. We don't have, what I mean, it's a train wreck when we go to commercial. It's often a train wreck coming out of commercial.
Right.
We're not really very good at the sort of the formulaics of radio, but we are really good with chemistry, right? So we've known each other forever. And a lot of that is because of DeMatha. I mean, it's a huge part of it. If it wasn't for DeMatha, we wouldn't be doing this because I would never have met Jason. And then Jason would have never met JP and Cakes, who I grew up with. So DeMatha, without question, is a central part of this story. But did I think we'd be doing this 25 years later? Yeah, maybe not. But I thought it was going to hit once we got the chance. I will say that. I dare say that with a little confidence.
25 years in radio, and we still can't figure out how to go to break.
Yeah, we still don't know how to do it.
Can't do it.
Really bad at it. And
Bickel's the worst. I mean, if he's ever running the show, oh my God, he's a disaster.
Yeah, it'll be bad. It'll be bad.
That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. So I think Connor, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, Eric, Jason, thanks again for joining us today. And this, I think this kind of, you might have already answered already, but you both have been on the air for 25 years. So with the way the media and the radio landscape has changed so much in that amount of time, how have the junkies, the sports junkies, how have you guys been able to stay on top for 25 years?
Well, don't know, honestly. I mean, like Eric said, it's the chemistry. And you know what? We've had such a strong following for so many years. I know a lot less people are going to work, and everyone and their mother has a podcast, and I'm sure we kind of do too. But I'm sure after radio we'll do that. But I don't know. I mean, Eric. I mean, we just have such a strong following over the years. They just kind of stuck with us.
Well, we got lucky. I mean, that's a part of being lucky. We didn't have to start in Salisbury or somewhere in Iowa, right, and try to make a name for ourselves.
We never had to move.
Those people might have thought we were aliens with our Prince George's County dialects and our use of our, sort of our, phrases and, the way we spoke. I mean, it's embarrassing. We say donkey and some of these, I mean, it's just embarrassing. But but that's how we spoke when we were in high school or whatever. And we just brought that to the air. And so the community at large, they could relate to us because we were local kids. We weren't guys from LA or New York, right? We're local kids. We represented them, except for Jason, who loves every front runner. I loved all the local teams. We were locals, and it was a monster station, right? So it wasn't some terrible AM station that it was a powerhouse. And so immediately you get a following, and that really was it. And that's a big reason why we were lucky. We started at a monster. It's like starting your first on-air gig at ESPN if you were on TV.
And it was a monster because we were surrounding the Skins in their coverage.
Well, and also the iconic shows, Stern, Don and Mike. I mean, those were monsters.
Right. I'm just saying on the weekends, they put us on because they wanted the local programming to be coupled with the Skins programming. So we weren't covering a D3 school, out of college. We went right into the NFL.
Right.
So it was, and not to mention the fact that, Don and Mike and, G. Gordon Liddy and all these guys were monsters in their own right. So yeah, definitely. So
the station was big. It had a following. The other hosts didn't trash us initially, and maybe later there was some friction. But they helped put us over a little bit. And then, so once you have that audience, then just don't lose it, right? Just don't be an idiot. And so that's why we've been so lucky.
Although we would say stuff back in 1999 on the radio, 97, 98, 99. If we said that today, we would be fired in 10 seconds.
That's true of everything, though. That's true of everywhere.
I got it. I'm just saying, in 10 seconds, we were gone. We couldn't even defend ourselves. We would be out.
Yeah, I would just take the L and walk out the door.
That's how radio has changed over 25 years.
Yeah.
That's great. It's a pleasure, waking up and, turning on NBC Washington and listening to you guys every morning before I go to work. It's awesome. You guys are very, very entertaining. So please don't stop. So we'd like to now open up the floor to the audience to ask EB or Jason a question. So again, just please indicate who you would like the question to be asked to. And again, just write it in the chat bar on the bottom there. We have our first question. So from Bobby Hill. Bobby Hill, if you want to unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Bobby.
Honestly, I was there when y'all started this show, really back at DeMatha, because that's where we started the show. Ever a point in the early years, that first year, where y'all looked at each other and said, man, let's shut this down. This is not going to work. I mean, I've learned a lot just by the few moments that you've talked already, but was there ever no behind the scenes you said, man, this really, let's shut this down?
No, never. Not for me, not for 1 second.
No.
Like I told you, Bobby, and this is not to be cocky, because and generally I'm not. I have low self-esteem and but I knew people would like our interaction. It would be no different than you and your boys, or Eddie and his boys, or my I knew people would just get a kick out of it, eavesdropping on our conversation. I'm sorry, that's one thing I have a little bit of confidence about. I just knew it would be something that it would be enjoyable, and we would push the envelope and we would try to make you laugh a little bit. And I'll say this too. I think that we did change the game a little bit, because Jason touched on it. Sports radio was always Mike and the Mad Dog and very, sports analytic-y and everything, and we kind of changed the calculus there, right? We're four guys, fans. We have strong opinions, and we certainly knew our stuff. We know a lot less now. We got lives, right? But when we were younger, we knew all. We could spit with you back and forth stats and all the analytics and all that. But we brought an informal atmosphere to the game. I think that a lot of shows now, they do a similar thing. I'm not going to say that they are copying us. I'm not going to say that. But I think we helped usher in a new style, a new sort of. You didn't have to be all knowing, right? You didn't, you could say I don't know. You can say I don't know, right? Can you imagine growing up like Ken Beatrice saying I don't know? I mean, that did not happen, right?
Well, and also we would argue with each other and berate each other like friends would.
Right, and that's
Not like
relatable.
Relatable. And so, a lot of shows, there's two co-hosts that, I don't know, they weren't lifelong friends. They were kind of paired together by the radio station, right? Or they just kind of, they ended up getting mixed together for certain reasons, but they weren't lifelong friends. So listeners could relate to the fact that we were lifelong friends and we're talking to each other like that. So if we were getting sports debates or sports arguments, we would go over the top sometimes and talk about how stupid you are for having that opinion. Right. And I think a lot of people, and we would go after, we had fights on the air. Eric and JP got into a physical fight on the air a couple different times.
Because we know how to push each other's buttons.
I know, but you just don't see that in radio.
Right.
Or you don't hear it in radio. You know what I mean? So,
because I feel comfortable pushing you. You feel comfortable pushing me. If all of a sudden I started working with just a guy I just met a year ago.
Yeah, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, you're not going to feel as comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, the second part of my question was, in every other group of friends, there's always that next one. So you got four. There has to be a fifth person. Have you ever thought about adding someone to the show? I know you guys dealt with Scott and Horsey, and you got a bunch of people through the years that had their little segments. But have you ever thought about adding a fifth person?
No.
Never.
Our salary would go down.
Are you kidding? We thought about firing one of the guys.
Yeah, I'd have to get rid of a couple.
Yeah. Never.
No. We're not doing that.
Never. In fact, we used to have it in our contract that if one of us died, we got to split the money three ways. The station wouldn't get to keep that fourth. You know what I'm saying? So we were actually rooting for death.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bobby, for great questions. Let's go to Jason Ballou. Jason, if you want to unmute your mic, please.
JB.
Hey,
What's up,
Jason.
guys?
What's up, bro?
Hey, buddy.
Oh, what's up? Hey, I know I hear Eric's mom comment every now and then about what she hears on the show, but do your wives and kids listen to the show? And if so, do they give you grief about what you say or don't say?
You want to go first?
Let's see. My daughters definitely don't. I mean, they might hear through word of mouth something we talk about. But I've taken a different tact over the years, especially since I had the girls. So I don't want to say anything too offensive where it's going to come back and they're going to just grill me and just make me look bad. So I definitely don't do that. There's a lot of things I used to say before I had kids that I would never say now. My wife occasionally will listen, but I told her years ago, just don't listen, because I'm going to say something's going to piss you off, and I don't feel like dealing with it when you get home or I get home. So sometimes I'll get into her truck and she has the station on, so she might listen to it for 10 minutes on her way to the gym or something. But for the most part, no, they don't. My kids don't. My wife doesn't. I don't know about Eric's.
My kids don't care. They don't care at all. My wife listens. She really enjoys it. She likes all the guys, so she listens. And yeah, she still give me some grief if I say something she thinks, you sound like a creep or something,
Right.
But years ago, I probably had to deal with that a lot more. I mean, now she knows, she gets it. We're having fun. We're trying to push the envelope. But a lot less than we used to. I can remember Jason and I commuted. Remember that, Jason? First year or two, when right after I got married, and Jason and I would drive together, and we would sit in a car and go, what can we say today to just absolutely get right to the brink of getting fired? Because you're trying to push the envelope, you're trying to break out. Here you are, you're just these young guys. And also we were lucky that we had support and that the people above us, if we started in sports radio, I don't know that the show would be what it is today. Luckily, we started in guy talk radio, right? So that was more push the envelope stuff. And then we just had this little sports niche. That was our niche. But then we were groomed by guy talk guys. So like Jimmy McClure, who was our original sort of producer and who embraced us and it was kind of in charge of grooming us, he said, don't leave anything there. Let us, give me everything you got and I'll tell you to calm down. You know what I mean? Don't leave anything on the table. Don't leave anything inside. So that's what we did. We just tried to push it. And we felt like we had unusual support.
We've calmed down big time over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, we're 50. All right. So then just the natural energy is gone.
You don't have any more testosterone. You know that.
At 5 a.m. No, I get zippy. At 5 a.m., but
my testosterone's good. So
mine's not. Mine's like a 12 seed. But like you said, we started off in just guy talk, so they kind of emphasize, hey, have real high energy, talk about whatever you want, and then you could say things on the radio back in 1997, 98 that you couldn't touch now. Couldn't touch it, like I said before.
But we've also had a good sense of that too. A lot of guys are stupid to this day. I mean, right? Every few months you see some radio guy said something spectacularly stupid, and you're like, dude, do you even realize what century you're in? And we've been able to kind of adjust on the fly and realize real quick, you better not say that anymore. You know what I mean? Things are changing. I mean, now you can't say anything, but there was a period there where some people just, and so I'm blown away. I mean, I don't know. What was some guy comparing people to the shades of his toast or something a couple weeks ago? I mean, I don't understand people. You gotta be able to go with the flow a little bit.
I always say 85% of the world's stupid. I'll stick to that number.
Yeah, it might be higher than that.
It might be higher.
It's getting higher over the years.
It's getting higher, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, thanks for the question. Looks like we got a question from Eric Cooper, class of 90. So Eric, you want to unmute your mic and ask the Junks a question?
Sure. Yeah, I'm wondering if you're anxious to get back into the studio or if you're comfortable, dialing it in from home here, or.
I have a different answer than Jason.
Yeah, we are on total opposites of that. Eric, yes, he wants to get in. I do not.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to pull back the curtain for you. Look, I like as much as anybody walking about 10 steps down the stairs and sitting here in my underwear and having no commute. But here is the reality of the situation. Before the pandemic hit, our ratings were at an all-time high. It wasn't to say we were that good. We were still just as mediocre as ever, but we built an audience for 25 years. All-time high, like insane numbers. Then the pandemic hit like that. Everybody stopped going to work. And now a couple of you guys have already said it. You guys now watch us on TV, right? Because you're just at home. You put it on The Office. And so our radio, we haven't changed, right? We're the same show.
But
But our ratings have cratered during this pandemic, right? And there is a real concern, like, when are some of y'all gonna go back to work? So I want to go back to work immediately, right? So I'm gonna get my Fauci shot in a few weeks, and I'm gonna be at work. And I want everybody to go back to work, because y'all are messing with my livelihood here. People need to get back to work. And so I would prefer in a perfect world to just sit here and chill, but I think I need to set an example. I need to get back to work. I think our chemistry is better when we're all in the same room. And we just need to get back to normal. But I have a real fear that a large percentage of people are finding that they can work from home.
I can't.
And that doesn't really work with radio. And why does that matter? Because TV pays us DeMatha would turn down that money if I offered it to him, right? I mean, it's nothing.
I don't even think we get paid anymore.
No, I think they do, but it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
So the money, you make your money in radio and in advertising and that sort of thing. So we need people to listen to radio again. And where do people listen to radio? In their cars.
Right.
How many people here listen to the radio at home? Nobody?
No.
Right? We need you back in your cars.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we need everybody else to go to work. I don't necessarily need to go to work.
Well, that would work too.
Yeah. So, but eventually we're all going to be back. And I don't know if that's going to be, later this month, next month, June, who knows, but eventually we'll be back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Before we get to Beth Lagan here, Junkies, I got a question for you. So just kind of want to take you back to your DeMatha days. Jason, I guess I'll start with you. Maybe any particular memory that stands out, maybe like favorite teacher, favorite class. And then Jason, if you could also maybe talk about what it was like playing for someone like Morgan Wooten. I heard a bit of the interview with Coach Mike Jones you guys did here not too long ago, but just kind of the what was it like playing for someone like Coach Wooten? And then EB, if you could maybe talk about favorite class or maybe a memory or two.
Well, I definitely didn't have a favorite class. I mean, I didn't like any classes. I had a couple favorite teachers. All right, Ray Smith was maybe my favorite teacher. I don't know how many of you guys had Ray. I'm sure a bunch of you did. And then Mr. Shafali is a close second.
Yeah.
I remember senior year, God, we would mess with Mr. T. Oh, it was so funny. I remember one year, I think Donnie Moore, who's on the Zoom, I think he might have been in my class, but I had him second period and Mr. Shafali walked in, and before he walked in, he always came in late. All right, he was always running around doing, I don't know if he was cleaning rooms with his janitorial, I don't know what he was doing. But we all said, hey, let's turn all the desks around in the room and just mess with Mr. T. So we all got up, we moved the desks, we turned them all around. So our backs were to the blackboard, and he came in and he was so pissed off at us. And I don't know, I think he gave us a pop quiz. But I love Mr. T. He was great. Mr. Smith and Mr. T were my favorite teachers. As far as coach, look, I originally went to DeMatha to play baseball. I was a better baseball player when I was in 8th grade in middle school than I was a basketball player, but I started to grow a little bit, and I can't remember how tall I was freshman year, but I grew up, I was probably 2'6'2". It was pretty tall my freshman year. And I ended up getting about 6'5", but I originally went to play baseball, and my mother and some other family members said, why don't you just try out for basketball? So I tried out, made the freshman team, and ultimately only played 1 year for Coach Wooten because I had a back surgery in 1987, my junior year. So I missed my junior year. And I was thinking about, I knew someone was going to ask that question. I was thinking about my memories of Coach Wooten, and Bobby Hill would remember this. Our senior year in 1988, we were preseason ranked number 5 or 6 in the USA Today. And back then in the late 80s, the USA Today was kind of the only high school basketball rankings. That was the Bible. Now you have all these, you have Max Preps and you have all these different websites. So we were number 5 or number 6 preseason, maybe even higher, maybe 3. And we went down to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and we went down and played in the Beach Ball Classic. And back in the 80s, the Beach Ball Classic was the premier high school basketball tournament in the country. And we went down there, and there was a bunch of good teams. You know, most of them were ranked in the top 25 in the USA Today. And we won our first game, and Bobby Hill would remember this. We played our second game against Hillcrest High School from South Carolina. And they had a point guard named Hal Henderson who went to Furman. And Hal Henderson was the quickest guy I've ever seen in my life. Okay. He made Kyrie look slow. And we couldn't guard him, and he killed us. They had another kid too who maybe went to VMI. I can't remember, but they had 2 really good players. Anyway, they blew us out. But one loss, that's fine. We played Eau Claire High School the next night. Eau Claire High School had a kid named Joe Ritt who went to South Carolina. Another stud. And they blew us out. All right, so we lost to Eau Claire and we lost to Hillcrest Heights in the Beach Ball Classic, which we were probably predicted to win. And I remember going into the, and Coach Murphy, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, but I remember going into the locker room after that Eau Claire game, and Coach Wooten said, well, you blew your national championship. National championship's gone. It's over. Because we were 1-2. Well, not 1-2, but we lost 2 down there in South Carolina. And we ended up losing a third game in Roanoke, Virginia. And Curtis Blair, who I went to Richmond with, was a stud. George Lynch was on that team too. So we lost 3 games in that, December. I think it was all in the month of December. Maybe that third game might have been January, but I just remember Morgan just telling it like it was. He was honest, like, national championship's over, because we thought we were going to win. I mean, we had Mustaf. Bobby was a starting power forward, rebounding machine. We had shooters. We had athletes coming off the bench. We had Ted Jeffries coming off the bench. We had Derek Chandler who went to Nebraska. We had a really good team. Kenny Blakeney went to Duke. So I mean, I could go on forever talking about Morgan. But again, it was awesome. I wish I didn't have that surgery in '87. I would have played 2 years. I would have loved to play with John Gwynn. I really wanted to play with him. But it was memorable, and I still talk to some of my guys, that I played with back then all the time about memories of 1988.
That's fantastic. EB, what about you?
Well, I had a very inglorious athletic tenure there. I think my highlight was we did win the sophomore homeroom deal.
Okay, all right.
And we beat the Neal brothers, and I was so happy about that. Yeah, we beat them. And who was it? It was Terrell Jones, I think, and Richard Priney, and I think. And that was probably my greatest accomplishment there. I mean, I won a couple matches in tennis, but I mean, nobody cared. But that I cared about. My favorite teacher by far was Mrs. Yerish. She was unbelievable. Even I can't believe I'm kind of getting emotional just thinking about how good she was. And she was hard on us, But I mean, a spectacular teacher. And to be honest with you, Miss Ryer was pretty darn good too. So I don't know why. Maybe because I kind of enjoyed math a little bit. It wasn't like I was particularly good at it. And I'm trying to think if there's another teacher that really jumped. I learned a lot from Mr. Burke, and I don't know how many years Mr. Burke taught, but he was fantastic. A lot of my teachers were great. But Miss Yerish just had a real impact on me. So
I also like Mr. McMahon was my junior. Mr. McMahon was my junior English teacher. Loved him. He was great.
Yeah.
I actually learned a lot in his class.
You're talking about Dr. McMahon, like the principal?
Dr. McMahon, yeah.
Okay.
Dr. McMahon.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And then for me, like going to DeMatha, see, for Matt, my brother, and my other brother, Chad, who also went there, like I was kind of the guinea pig. I didn't decide I was going to go to DeMatha until about 2 months before school started, Donnie and I went to elementary school together, and I think, Donnie, you went to Pullen too, right? Did you go to Pullen with me? Yeah. And I just figured I'd go to Largo. And then all of a sudden I looked around in the summer and nobody was going to Largo. And I went, oh man, it might just be me and like one dude. So I said, we better scramble. We better find something. And I honestly didn't know what I was getting into. I had no idea. My parents had no idea. We did a tour of the school and we went, well, this looks pretty good. And you know, Jason and I talk about this on the air. I don't know what DeMatha is now. What is Matt? Do you know what is DeMatha now, Matt? Do you unmute your microphone? What is it?
Tuition?
Yeah.
Tuition is it's around 19,700, somewhere around there.
When Jason and I went, I think it was 1,500.
Yeah.
And my parents said, you got to pay half. So, well, you know, I had a paper out and I did it and I went and I didn't know what I was getting into. And you know, I didn't have, you know, I had guys I grew up with, you know, like Matt Laney and Chris Mercier and Donnie. But I will say that I did, you know, form some friendships and bonds that will last forever. I mean, all these guys, even when I see any of these guys, you know, there's a connection. We all know that, right? A DeMatha connection that you just kind of have forever. Yeah. But I mean, some of my close, like Tommy Horskamp. I mean, just one of my closest friends of all things, brother to me. So Jason's the same way. And so, you know, that's one thing that I did take from it. I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, I wasn't Catholic. I wasn't, no one cared about me athletically. So, you know, it was just, it was tough for me, to be honest with you, to find my niche, but I did find a great group of friends. And so it'll always have a special place in my heart for sure.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, just, you know, talking about just Doug Shafaley, Jason was, I mean, I graduated from DeMatha in 2011 and I had Doug Shafaley. I think Doug Shafaley's probably taught every single person that's ever been to DeMatha. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
50 years. I mean, he's all the teachers you guys named though are legendary.
Yeah. He would make me laugh every class. He would make me laugh. So would Ray Smith.
I mean, I had Smitty too, but I was scared of him. You know what I mean? I mean,
it was so funny.
Smitty was amazing, but looking back, but he was like an alien. Like, who is this guy? You know?
He'd be in the middle of teaching a lesson, you know, doing his thing, and then he'd look out the window and go, "Oh my God, look at this idiot! Look at this clown."
That's awesome. We'll a few more questions here, and we'll wrap up, guys. Beth Lagan, if you want to unmute your mic and ask a question.
Hello. I am, of course,
Hello.
not a DeMatha grad, but I had two brothers and a son that graduated. And first of all, thank you guys for letting the band come down to the studio and play Hail to the Redskins. I'm sure Mr. Bickel remembers that. My son was lucky enough to be involved in that. And I think Eric was the conductor that day, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Well, my son loved it.
Yeah.
And my question is, who has been your favorite sports figure to interview or have on the show?
Jason, why don't you go first?
Favorite sports figure to have on the show. Well, this kind of leads into a personal story, but we would have Cal Ripken on the show, and I can't remember what year it was we had him on first, but we would have him on probably a couple times a year if he was promoting a book or a business he was promoting. But anyway, so Cal eventually invited me to play basketball at his house.
Whoa.
And when he was living in, God, what was that town he lived in up there? It wasn't Owings Mills, but it was close to that. He just had this big ass estate up there and he doesn't live there. He sold that house, but he had an indoor basketball gym and he invited me to play. And that was back when I was playing a lot. So I was probably early 30s. So anyway, I ended up playing there twice. So we had Cal on the show, yada, yada, yada. So he said, hey, yeah, we set it up through his PR guy. And I went up to Cal Ripken's house and played basketball. He always had a set weekly game with a bunch of guys, a bunch of former college players. I remember Kirk Lee was one. Kirk Lee went to Towson. And BJ Surhall.
I know Joe Smith used to play in those games. I don't know if he played with you, but Joe used to play up. A lot of guys play in those games.
Yeah, a lot of guys. A lot of former NBA players, a lot of really good local college players. Even some of the Orioles would go up there. And I remember going up there, and I was so nervous, more nervous than any game I'd ever played in. Because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what to expect. I know I wanted to play well because it was Cal. And so we go up there, and you walk into his walked through his garage, and there was a big ass locker room. He had two big coolers, one filled with Gatorade and waters, another one filled with beer. And he had lockers, right? He had a legit locker room, and they always had NBA jerseys. So I think we were the Knicks that one day. I don't know who they were, but it would be the Knicks playing the Kings, whoever. And I played for a couple hours, had a great time, and I played well enough where he invited me back. So I went back a second time and played again, and you know, I didn't get back the third time, so maybe I didn't play well the second time. But that's kind of a personal story from me.
Yep.
From Cal, who was a great guest, and we still talk to him a couple times a year. But man, there's been so many over the years. I'm sure Eric's got a couple he's thinking about.
Well, the thing is we've interviewed almost anybody, just because we've been around so long, but the ones that stand out and the ones that you remember are the in-studio ones, right? Because that's where you get a connection. So you can talk to anybody. I mean, you talk to Joe Montana on the phone a few times or Dan Marino on the phone, but you know, that's just a phone call to them. They don't know who, you know, it means nothing. But like when Cal first came in and all of us growing up in this area, that was like staggering. And then for him to I still get kind of emotional when Cal comes in. Jason and I got to interview Tiger at a congressional, and it was uncomfortable in a sense that they act like he's the president or something, you know, and they you know, they scare you into not asking certain things, and you know, you just feel scared. But that was still you know, a cool moment where at least it was one-on-one. Magic Johnson coming in the studio a few times, that was unbelievable. He's every bit the way you imagine him to be. So for me, it's all of the in-studio one. I mean, just interviewing some guy on the radio, you know, over the phone, I almost have no interest in it. But when you have a guy come in studio and you get to sit down and lock eyes and kind of, you know, go back and forth with them, then it becomes something special and memorable.
Thanks, Beth, for your question. Next up, we got Todd Sanzone, class of 90. So Todd, if you want to unmute your mic.
I can't hear you, buddy.
Hey, Todd.
I clicked it, but then I clicked it again. Can you hear me
There
now?
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. It's a real pleasure. Man, I just, not so much a question as it is just commentary that maybe somebody else can relate to. You guys are living my dream. I mean, my God, I'm looking at a couple of guys on this call that I was in school with, Jason Ballou, Roger Dennis, somebody not here, OC, who works at DeMatha now, some of you guys know. We were all in a Spanish class together, and what a bunch of monkeys in that class. We all goofed around so much that I'm surprised we got any learning done, but we did. It was an honors class, and we were all pretty smart guys, but man, we had fun. And I swear, I just texted OC a minute ago. I was like, damn it, man, we should have had a show. So kudos to you guys for pulling it off and making it work all these years. And talking about Ray Smith, man, I had him freshman year, last class of the day. By that time of day, he didn't care what you did or what was going on. He spent more time hanging out the window, yelling across the parking lot than he did teaching us math. But anyway, guys, you know, keep doing what you're doing. I hope you last for 25 more.
Thank you, bro.
You got it. You got it.
Thanks, Todd. And
Is that Jeff Hathaway, former UConn AD down there?
It is.
Right here. I'm doing great. How about you?
How you doing? Just want to say hi. I don't think I've ever met you, but obviously followed your career. What are you doing now? I should know, but I don't.
I own a business called Car Sports Consulting. We do executive search for ADs and coaches, and we do management consulting for athletic departments.
Awesome.
You got to find a job for my man Mike Lonergan then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Hathaway is the man. He's on a lot of our calls as well.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thanks. Nice meeting you all as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last question here before we get off will be from Brian Graberick. I hope I'm saying that right. He's class of 89. Brian, if you want to unmute your mic and ask a final question.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Just curious, with the ever-changing landscape as we move forward into the future, do you have plans for the future? You thinking about ever retiring? Do you even look at that, or is
Think about it every day.
Every day.
No, I do. So I was just wondering if you guys did too.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. I'd like to obviously keep the train rolling, but eventually the train's going to stop and they're going to ask you to get off. And, I'm sure that we'll be doing something sports related, sports podcasty related, whatever. But, it kind of depends on what my daughters do. I mean, my younger daughter will be a freshman at Tech next year, and my older will be a junior. So we'll see where they end up in the next 4 or 5 years. Hopefully we're still doing the show in 5 years. But yeah, Eric and I talk about it all the time. Let's move south somewhere. Let's go down to South Carolina, Florida. I don't know. Let's go somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And who doesn't think about wanting to just chill and buy a beach house and just, but I think that we'll always do this. I mean, I can speak for myself, and Jason may not realize it, but he's always going to do this too. And eventually we'll probably do it on our own. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to that day at some point, and we can be wherever we want to be. And with technology the way it is today, I think we could still, put something out there that people are going to really enjoy. And we're just really lucky. We have a built-in base that I think, hopefully people will follow us wherever we go. And we don't have aspirations like, I'm doing Marist lacrosse games just so I can see my son play. But like, I don't want to, be like Bob Costas or something. You know what I mean? Like, we don't, like, this is it. We're living the dream. We're not getting better than this. So just keep doing this. Maybe eventually, host our own thing. And so we have a little more flexibility. But ride this wave. As long as those dummies want to keep giving us money, we'll take it.
Yep.
And then when they're done, then we'll say thank you and we'll carry it on from there. I think that's fair.
Well, thank you so much to EB and Lurch and everyone for your terrific questions this afternoon. Thank you guys for taking the time out today. I know you guys are super busy, but just thank you. It's always great chatting with our fellow DeMatha brothers. And it was great listening to all your stories. Hey, keep up the great work. We love your show, and cheers to 25 more years with you guys, man. You guys are fantastic. So
thank you so much, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
guys.
again, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. We'll be back, this time next week at the same time. So
Hey, it was good
cheers,
seeing a
guys.
lot of you guys.
Thank
Good seeing
you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, EB. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, man.
Take care.